right, so it's time once again for another episode of Midcard Mana. We got over here the loose cannon, we got over here Sam Killer, the wrestling connoisseur, and we got over here our good buddy. He is the Seth Rollins of our Shield.
The architect.
He's the architect.
Kind of, I guess.
So please feel free to introduce yourself by whatever name you want to go by.
Ellsworth.
Oh, man. Ellsworth might be getting put on the list. Let's not call him Ellsworth.
He is on the list.
He might be on the list. Anyway, this is our buddy.
This is Paul Danielson.
Paul Danielson. The Hawaiian Dragon, if you will.
Yeah, there you go.
And this is another episode of Midcard Mana. We have our friend here because he actually got into wrestling through watching Wrestling with Us. He's the champ one day. Any day now. Any second now. So, what are we going to talk about today, guys? There's so many things that have gone on since last we met. We can talk about... Let's talk about this. So, one of this guy's favorite wrestlers, as I mentioned, is Seth Rollins.
His second favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, his favorite in the WWE is Seth Rollins. So let's think about Seth Rollins and his road to WrestleMania. So he won the Royal Rumble, right?
He won the
Royal Rumble, and now his match at Mania is against Brock Lesnar.
The Beast. The Conqueror.
Yeah. The one behind the 21-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brock Lesnar is his opponent at WrestleMania, and this feud has been really cold. Really cold.
Well,
it's starting to heat up a little bit more now, but there was so much that distracted from it for so long that I honestly forgot that he was fighting Lesnar at Mania.
The number one thing is that he went into a Royal Rumble hurt, and he come out of Royal Rumble more hurt.
Hurt more, yeah.
So, and I believe it's his back. So he has a back injury, and we are now 3 weeks out, and he's wrestled, I believe, twice since January. So the build has been at best.
It's been very forgettable.
And when you don't have Brock Lesnar show up, and you hardly see Paul Heyman out there anymore, even.
And I mean, so the Monday Night Raw I went to, so as we mentioned, I went to the mainland and watched Raw and SmackDown. And the Monday Night Raw I went to in Lafayette, Paul Heyman came out, and the person that interrupted him wasn't Seth Rollins, it was Finn Balor. And Heyman barely got a promo out, Balor came out, Heyman storms off. And it was just like...
It was weird.
I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't building towards a match against...
Well, I felt like...
For Balor and Lesnar, because they just had that at Rumble, so...
Knowing that Rollins was injured, having him win was a bad idea.
Yep.
Because you know...
But the second he went through that table, I knew he was going to win. The second they threw him through that table, I'm like, So Rollins is going to win.
It was very predictable.
Yeah,
which is sad.
I was hoping for McIntyre.
It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. You don't know who Drew McIntyre is, I believe.
No,
you would
love the table.
You would love Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
The Scottish psychopath.
Yep.
About 6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
He's 7 foot tall. You can't teach that.
We'll talk about him in a little bit if you want. About 6'5", 6'6", and pure 280 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Who started in wrestling really young, got to WWE, was there for probably about 3 years.
And went from the very top to pretty much the very bottom.
He was the
chosen one, and then he was part of 3-man band for a really long time until getting released.
And then I think he took maybe a year off or so, and then hit the indies hard and just
blew up
back.
Blew up.
Like he became a man on the indies, literally. Because like when he was in WWE, he's muscular, but he was young, so he was like baby face and just a young body, really lean. And he come back and just like all of a sudden he's just this monstrous guy. He's like
the man,
straight out of the Bible.
Yeah.
Ripped. Just here's Goliath.
Yeah. Actually, that's a great. Yeah. That's a great
You would love him.
Description.
You would love him.
I know, except, Goliath was defeated by someone scrawny.
Everyone.
Which would be Balor.
Yeah, which has happened, I think.
Mhm.
I think
They've had a
Balor's
feud.
beaten him. Yeah.
But he's really good. He has the really thick accent. I mean, he is the marketing dream, in my opinion,
Yeah.
for a wrestling promotion.
And that's why he's achieved a lot of success in different places, like in Impact. He was
Impact,
huge.
NXT. He
Oh
was
yeah,
wrestling
NXT he was
everybody.
huge. But Impact, I think, was where he really
He
made his mark.
come back, yeah.
and that's where they saw how much he had grown, and that's when they realized they wanted him back. Because Drew Galloway in Impact was
Yeah, it's his room.
an all-time great, honestly.
So, and they've really been pushing him hard these last 2 weeks, actually. Which is strange. So I think Rollins is going to be an interim champion in the long run. I don't think Rollins will be champion long.
I don't think he needs to be champion long. For Rollins, this is a notch on his belt. You know what I mean? It's not that he's going to be a really long-standing champion. It's just that he needs to hold this belt.
They also picked Rollins, and Roman's been out because
Yeah.
leukemia and everything. So he was out when Wrestlemania or Royal
Royal
Rumble
Rumble.
happened. So it was like, who do we pick to win? And at that stage, I don't think anybody cared this year. I mean, really, there was no darling to win.
Yeah.
We didn't have a Daniel Bryan, huge baby face like a couple years ago. There wasn't the Kofi of now.
Yeah.
They did a poor job of building anybody up. At that stage, everybody's just like, we just want somebody to
I
win
think
and
that
take the
I
belt
think
off
the
Brock.
person that would have been the favorite to win it would have been Balor.
And he
But
was already
Balor had the
facing-
match
Yeah.
already, so there was not really much of a point to have him enter the Rumble and win another chance
Yeah.
because they had him lose there.
It was
so
really
it was
bad storytelling, in my opinion. So. Yeah.
well. There's a lot of
I'm sad that you
there's
haven't
a-
watched any of this to comment.
there was a lack of follow through, I think, with a lot of things. Like they had a lot of things that could have been set up well to
There was
be interesting.
There was a lack of setting anything up, period.
True.
Yeah, it was a failure of narrative.
It really has been.
Yeah.
Because we are 3 weeks away, and we only now are getting matches booked for WrestleMania, and technically
And so
speaking, it
so
should have
much of
started
it
in
feels
January.
anticlimactic.
Oh, it's totally is because there's no groundwork.
For example, also
For
you're not
anything.
in frame. Get in frame.
Yeah, you have to build. There has
But-
to be a rising action to the climax.
The biggest, I think, disappointment to date, as far as booked matches, have been Angle versus Corbin. Angle naming Corbin,
Okay.
which there's a storyline reason why it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but it's such a
But it was dropped.
it's such a
For
bummer.
like 3 months,
Yeah.
it's been dropped.
It's so that it's just sort of like, oh yeah, I remember that and the fact that it had not really any resolution,
There was no resolution.
Yeah.
They dropped it. They moved on.
and then they're coming back to it now.
And they're just not coming back to it. But even though they're coming back to it really awkwardly, because there's been nothing done on Corbin's behalf for this feud to be warranted. The bad guy has done nothing. It's like you had a good guy and a bad guy, and the good guy just decides to go after this bad guy for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, like
You're a bad guy,
so
and I'm
even-
going to stop you.
regardless
But I
of
didn't do nothing, officer.
how we feel about Corbin,
Just
is
like
it
James Potter was
wasn't
saying.
really much of his choice to take over. He got
Right.
appointed it through Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he took the job, yeah. But what do you expect
wouldn't
for him
take
to
the
say
job?
no? Like,
It's just been really, really poor writing to get where we're at. And it's last minute booking, just like the Batista thing.
yep.
Oh.
Huh?
And
I had
that was
to.
part of his promo that he did on TV.
Do I have your attention now?
So all right, let me tell you about that. Okay. So for Batista, what they did.
Regale me.
Yes. So what they did for Batista, which is, as you would know, as Drax the Destroyer from
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Very
What they
happy
did,
now.
he was in negotiations. Yeah. And I think that's why James Gunn is back. Not to be confused with Billy Gunn. He's gone.
Billy Gunn is in AEW.
So Batista was working, contractually. He wanted to be at WrestleMania. He's reached out for the last several years, I believe.
And he's asked
And
Triple
they've
H. He's
blown
like,
him
I want to fight you at Mania. I want you to retire
Well,
me.
that was one of his
Well, yeah, but that was his biggest thing.
He's always wanted to work with Titus because they're best friends. Him and Titus O'Neil, who was never used. And it's like he wants to work a program with Titus, either as a tag team or against each other. And they're like...
Just in some sort of...
Yeah, just something with his
pod,
friend.
Sort
Yeah.
of.
And they always turn that down.
Well, I mean, it's always an ideal, to work with your friend because you have chemistry.
There's
you can work well together,
and it's gonna come out on screen if you're having fun with your friends. But
sometimes
they always turn it down, and so they finally come to a contractual thing, and like the next show, let's do it. It's Ric Flair's birthday bash. Oh, we should do it at Ric Flair's birthday bash. So the idea was Batista attacks Flair to goad Triple H into this match. One, we just see everybody's out there waiting for Flair, and there's no Flair, and then we just see Triple H walk into Flair's dressing room. And then we hear...
Feel suspense.
And then Batista drags Flair out. And everybody was like, oh my god.
And it was filmed very cinematic because it was a long shot, it was a wide shot, and you just see him pulling the cameraman into it, and then you see him disappear into the room, and then you see him dragging Flair out by the coat.
But you missed the entire beatdown.
Yeah.
And Flair would have been like, yeah, I'll get bloody for this. Because it's Ric Flair and he will blade for a beer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Didn't he lose to Jon Stewart once?
No.
Ric Flair? No, I don't. I think
John
that was Cena.
Yeah.
That's right, because it was at SummerSlam.
It was Seth Rollins.
It was at SummerSlam, and he was just like, "I'm sorry, I couldn't let John Cena tie Ric Flair's record for the most championship reigns."
So we just see him drag Flair out, who apparently was just finger pumped of doom. And Batista delivers his promo, and it's like, no, you know what? If I'm supposed to be like booing Batista, I need a reason, because so far Triple H is one he's the dick, with the authority and everything. So give me a reason. I want to see a bloody Ric Flair. Don't just.
And Flair would do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Flair would do it, and don't just be like, no, he did it. I want to see it.
Prove it.
There's storytelling. Prove it. I want to feel the emotion.
Yeah.
I don't just want to be told you should feel bad. You should not like.
He beat up a 7-year-old man. It's like, did he?
Right. We know he didn't. And even if you showed him doing it,
I
still be like,
Flair's still conscious. Come on.
So right from the get-go, it's been very poor. And then the other part was all Ric Flair's friends and all the wrestlers are out in the arena, and they're watching this on the screen, and only Triple H runs back.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I think Sting and Steamboat and everybody else.
I did like Steamboat chopping Seth Rollins. That's the most I've ever respected Seth Rollins. I'm like, he sold it. He sold it.
So it was like a good build up for the Ric Flair bash.
Charlotte was not there.
She was not there.
She was too busy with Cien.
No, the best thing they could have done, they would have, oh my god, it would not have been WrestleMania worthy, but with Batista being like, huh? And then you just see David Flair spare him from the outside.
That would be amazing.
I would have marked out. That would have
been great.
But yeah, it was just very poorly put together. And then the next week, Triple H gives his breaking the fourth wall promo.
This isn't me talking to Batista the Animal. This is me.
Paul the Best.
This is talking to Dave Bautista,
who beat up Richard Fleer. Oh God, no!
I feel like there's too much of that going on.
It is. It's like
not even just in that, but I mean, just in
if you're going to blur the
storylines
line by breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
In my opinion, what they should have done is having the birthday bash, Then you do, oh my god, there's a commotion backstage. Then the cameras go backstage, and you really do show Batista beating the shit out of Ric Flair, getting all bloody and everything.
Yeah.
And then you have the announcers sell it. You have the arena pour in, all the wrestlers pour into the back. You have the announcers sell it. Michael Cole breaking character, going, "Oh my god, I'm sorry, this is not part of storyline. This is real. Batista was supposed to be out here.
Yeah.
They should announce Batista to be there, and then be like, "Oh, where's Batista?" And then be like, "Oh my god, there's been altercation backstage," and make it look real.
Yeah.
And have them break the fourth wall by acting it like it's real, and not this whole, this is Paul Levesque talking to Dave Bautista. It came off so bad. It was really, really poorly done.
It's just so heavy-handed with how they try to be like, this is real! Believe it! Like, it's like, just okay. Mm-hmm. Maybe act like it's real more.
Now,
maybe like...
Not to jump off of that match particularly, but onto the others. The Ronda Rousey thing that Paul Heyman has his
There it
hand
is,
in.
yeah.
There was a video put out on YouTube, I believe, of Ronda Rousey getting her hair done and her nails done and everything.
And they're just like,
and
oh
she's
yeah,
talking shit about
they're just like, oh yeah, they gave me a promo, I just didn't want to say it. I just didn't want to say it. I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
And the internet really
none of them can touch me. And it's if it's a work, then great, decent work for a work. But it feels so heavy-handed, and I keep saying that, but it just feels so much like they're trying so hard that it comes off as disingenuous.
Yeah, because she's still there.
Yeah.
If it was real, they would have pulled the plug on her immediately.
Oh, did you see our fellow Hawaiian on Monday Night Raw?
No.
Oh yeah, Travis Brown.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, and he pulled her out. I was more excited to see Travis Brown on Raw than pretty much everything else.
I was just like, oh look,
which is sad.
Look, Travis Brown made it. I have hope. I can make it too.
Yeah, Kona Reeves hasn't made it up to the main roster yet. So.
Kona Reeves did come to the U show though. That was cool.
Yeah.
I was sad that I didn't get to take a picture with him because he's the finest. I said, and I screamed that, and like for the entire duration he was out in this, the finest.
What else is going to be at WrestleMania? So they have Ronda Rousey, who has the title, and she's undefeated against the Man, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. They interjected Charlotte Flair into it because Ronda sucks. She just does. Oh no, it's moving.
I think the main issue, I think the main reason why they had Charlotte come into the match is because if Rousey decides to leave, as it's been said, then they still leave the door open for her so Becky can beat Charlotte and still win.
That would be an easy fix, really. I think they really...
I'm hoping that the horsewomen come up. Wow.
All right, that's really... Okay.
I'm hoping that the horsewomen come up. So I'm hoping that Baszler comes up.
Can you put it back up there now?
I hope so.
Yes. Baszler is really good, actually.
Make my day.
Yeah. She's so good.
Put it back.
She's really just got
this video is taking a turn for the worse.
Such a good sense of her character and how to play it. And how to play off of other people within that character.
She does. She knows what she's doing. But of course she's been on the indie scene.
Yeah.
And
which I think she's had the benefit of working with a lot of different people on the indies. She worked with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
She worked with Mercedes Martinez. She worked with
Joey Ryan.
Yeah, she worked with Joey Ryan. So she's gotten to work with all these people that have helped define her, or helped her figure out a way to define her character in a lot clearer of a way.
Especially a mixed martial artist character. And
because it's easy for her to be the MMA chick, like how Sonya Deville is, where she's become marginalized to being that. And I really hope, not to get too far off tangent, but I really hope that they find something a little bit more solid for Sonya Deville because I like her. And I think she has a lot of potential, and I think just she's shown a lot of in-ring charisma.
So far, Sonya is just a modern-day Ken Shamrock, kind of.
And she's taking a back seat to Mandy Rose. And I feel like she has
more character.
When I feel like she'll get fed to Mandy Rose. I feel like in that feud, she will get fed to Mandy Rose.
I mean, it just depends on what they want to do. But apparently that's going to be a triple threat for Asuka's title. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But I really think Charlotte's in the match because Ronda is limited in what she can do. She can only go out and work for like 5 or 10 minutes. And that match is going to be way longer.
I mean... It's unfortunate because then if Charlotte's involved in a finish, in a sense of, let's say, Becky Lynch beats Charlotte.
Uh-huh. Which will probably happen.
Which I think will happen too.
And it's going to screw Becky a lot.
It takes away. It takes a lot of the wind out of the sails because then it's still like she didn't beat
She
Rousey.
beat Ronda, right? I don't think Ronda will be back. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, she'll be back like SummerSlam."
I hope she stays until SummerSlam and then leaves. Because I don't think you understand how much I want Shayna Baszler to come up, and there's not going to be a program for Shayna Baszler if Rousey's not there. They're just not going to give Baszler one. You know that's true. You know I'm right about this. They're high on Baszler, but they're not high enough on Baszler to have her come up without Rousey.
Maybe. I would think that Ronda comes back with the idea of maybe doing the horsewoman thing, but the other two aren't ready or near ready at all.
Oh, absolutely not, but it's not about them.
It would only be like Baszler, I feel, like coming up.
No, I think it'll be all three of them.
You think all three?
But I think that the onus is going to unfortunately fall on Baszler.
They would be reduced to
be the real leader, even though she'll be like the lieutenant because Rousey is going to be the leader.
I don't think Rousey will stick around, even if she comes back at SummerSlam for the 4 Horsewomen or Survivor Series.
I don't think they do it. I don't think they bring up the Horsewomen without Rousey there. I don't think they'll do it.
I don't think we'll get it, honestly, at all. I really don't.
I think that's a shame then, because then they signed Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke for nothing.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean,
I don't think they signed them for the idea of doing the 4 Horsewomen.
I think they did.
I think they signed them.
I think they absolutely did.
I think one got signed because Roderick Strong got signed.
Oh, because Marina.
And it's his wife.
Yeah.
So I think that was just like a 2-for-1. And I think the other one probably got signed because they're like, oh well, if Ronda turns out to be good and Baszler's good, maybe these other two we can mold.
And it just hasn't really been. It's
something's
unfortunately.
Not clicky.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's and it's unfortunate because it's not like, and I love Marina Shafir, I do, but it's just a different world that they're in, and so there's some people that take to it really fast.
You know what I liked about her
and
the
there's
most
people that don't.
Was the build-up video for Roderick Strong's big face rush, big push down at NXT, and they talking about them having a kid together, and she come off really, as this loving person and wife and mother and fighter, and now she's going into wrestling, and I was like, oh wow, and then I saw her in the ring, and my opinion just went.
It's just like
they're awful.
I was just like, can Roderick Strong train you? Can he train you himself?
I just don't think it's in him.
I
think they're probably fighting wise great, wrestling wise is a different.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at people that make that transition.
An actor.
Yeah,
he sucks. I'm sorry, he sucks as an actor. It was probably great as in karate. No, I will not.
Walker, Texas Ranger.
Awful.
The jetpack?
The eyes of the Ranger.
They're so bad.
The unsuspecting stranger.
So bad. Okay, the best acting role Chuck Norris was ever in was when Bruce Lee was kicking his ass.
I'm gonna break this bottle on your head right now. Heat. You feel that? You hear that? That's heat. That's heat.
It's heat. Learn it.
But I mean, so truthfully,
he was handicapped.
You can. I mean, like you can see. You can see though.
It's like Samson.
How some people. It's true. How some people can really take to professional wrestling and that different world, and others that can't.
Her best bet would just being Roderick Strong's valet. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but I think she would add something to his character that.
Well, not only that, but I think
some level.
personality-wise, I think that would define her a little bit better than just being one of Shayna Baszler's goons. You know, like, and I mean, and I've talked about this, and I think I've talked about this with you, but I mean, there's a pre-existing working relationship between Shayna Baszler and members of the of Undisputed Era in Fish and O'Reilly. So why not have? Why not have them work together?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, truthfully, Shayna Baszler is probably going to be the best champion out of all of them. Mm-hmm. So why not work with that?
See, my thing was like, you don't need the whole 4 horsewomen. They could have easily brought up Shayna Baszler this whole time,
but they won't. They
like
won't.
Ronda,
they won't do it. They won't do it without the 4. You know, I'm right to some extent.
I don't see the point in it though. I think because we would see Ronda go down there and be ringside for Baszler's matches, and cheering her on. I'm like, oh my god, you're trying to sell her as the biggest face on Monday Night Raw, and she's cheering for her best friend who is a heel champion in NXT.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
you know, even if you're like, well, you know, the fans are smart now.
But see, they push
story-wise.
They
we're
push
supposed
that
to suspend
so
belief.
much that I truly, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Baszler doesn't go up if Rousey's not there. And it's unfortunate.
Eventually, she will.
And it's disappointing. But I think the initial introduction, they're gonna have her grouped with Rousey. You know, I think eventually she'll be able to make a niche for herself without her. But I don't think she goes up until they're able to write that story.
Anything that Ronda could do for her, honestly, can be done by Michael Cole on the commentary.
Oh no, I don't disagree with you.
Best friend, Shayna Baszler.
But let's examine how the call-ups recently have been handled. And they've been very
awful.
they've been very poor. You know, and you look at the announced call-ups when you see EC3 and Lars Sullivan and Heavy Machinery and Lacey Evans and Nikki Cross. They were all announced. Mm-hmm. Where are any of them?
Lacey Evans comes out every show at the most opportune time.
Yeah.
Ricochet and Black are at every show.
Yeah, but they're
digging their own grave.
They're a different call-up. Mm-hmm. So they didn't get that big fanfare.
EC3 was last seen 2 weeks ago in a backstage segment without saying a word.
Yep. Lars Sullivan
still has not shown up.
Missing in action.
Well, apparently he's ready, but they haven't called him back yet.
I've never been sold on Sullivan. You know that.
Sullivan's
your
Lars
guy.
Sullivan.
Whereas Aleister Black has always been my guy than yours.
Yeah.
And
Lars is your classic old school heel. Like he will never. I mean, he could be a face, but he will never be a face. And
he shouldn't be a face.
He's your monster heel. He's classic monster heel. And he got called up, supposed to do this big program, and he got panic attacks, anxiety, and could not perform. And that's been the end of it. Now, the big problem here is that Vince has kind of done a coup over his own company because Triple H is being groomed to be the next guy in charge. Because Vince is 600 years old. He looks like I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes.
You know the ones with the big ears, which we call them the Ferengis. Vince looks like a Ferengi now.
It is weird. It's very.
He looks really old. He sounds really old. But
I wonder how much of that is design though. Is by design.
I don't think it's design.
I think
maybe
you never know with the WWE. I'm just
mostly
gonna tell you
know him
that.
from the meme now.
Yeah.
The 4-panel meme was like.
Yes.
Oh,
You know the one.
I know what you're talking about.
So I mean, I think, and to some degree, as a working relationship, Vince has lost a lot of credibility in Triple H as far as call-ups. So he calls up EC3, Lars, Lacey Evans. Who am I
Heavy
missing?
Machinery and Nikki
Heavy
Cross.
Machinery was a little bit later.
Well, but they were part of the same call-up package.
Kind of, yeah. And EC3, it just didn't take off for whatever reason. I think just Vince just doesn't like the guy.
Well, I mean,
and it's like
EC3 is a brainchild of Impact.
Right.
Like it's so
which we know from
indelibly tied. Like it's impossible to disconnect that from Impact because EC3 stands for Ethan Carter III, who ran Impact during those years. Dixie Carter. He is Dixie Carter's nephew.
So, on one hand, it's not his brainchild. He's not going to push it, and we saw that when he bought out WCW.
And buried a bunch of people.
Yeah, he buried everybody. If they even stuck with it, like Booker T, it took like a decade before Booker T got.
And then look at what they did to Sting. When Sting finally came to the WWE, he buried Sting.
Yeah.
Destroyed him.
So, EC3, rumor has it he's going to be gone after WrestleMania. He's going to be one of the cuts, which is totally ridiculous.
Which is, yeah.
But anyway,
because
so,
EC3 is probably one of the best characters.
Vince wanted bigger characters, so they brought up Heavy Machinery, which I don't even know how to explain.
The Dozer!
One
the
guy's
Caterpillar elbow drop. I love
50 pounds.
I love Otis Dozovic. I've never not loved Otis Dozovic.
So kind of like Goliath from the Bible.
No, because he's like my height.
He's round
and Sam's weight.
Yeah, but he's kind of plays this wrestling trope of I hate to use the term retarded character.
Dopey.
But
he's dopey.
But it's a really wrestling trope that they've gone to over
it's
the
a
years.
lovable dopey. It's sort of like
it's the lovable dopey character. They did it with so many. Gosh,
Vader.
No, never did do it with Vader.
No,
it wasn't
not Vader.
They really did it to the extreme with Nick Dinsmore.
Yes.
You know,
I feel like early Big E was getting there.
Oh gosh, yeah, kind of.
And then Big E kind of took a step back, and then they came back a New Day, and then
they did it with the B Team.
Yeah.
When they turned face, and it's like the classic fun-loving babyface character, but to the stupid degree.
It's just sort of like the child, like you feel kind of bad.
Like in the South, they would say, "Oh, bless your heart."
Yeah.
So yeah, they've really been pushing them, and then of course Lars was AWOL. Vince decided, on this build to WrestleMania, we need more guys that will fix the problem. So bring me up 4 of your best guys.
More is
and
more.
it was truly the top 4 guys.
Yeah, so Triple H just brought up the
top
4 guys he's been grooming to lead NXT. Which really, in essence, Vince has gutted NXT because of his call-ups. Because you brought up your characters, and now you're bringing up your top guys, and that's what, like 8 people that just your upper 8 people that just totally.
And I mean now, hilariously enough, their women's division is stacked down there, but now their men's division is almost completely gutted because with Johnny Gargano, although Gargano I hear is going to be sticking around a while because Ciampa is injured.
Right.
So they weren't able to complete that program, but they also aren't able to bring them up together. So now
Vince is really high on Gargano, though.
Well, yeah, no, everyone's high on Johnny Gargano. He entered the Rumble.
I kind of have a feeling Cole's going to get the belt, and they're going to bring Gargano up anyway.
I feel like Gargano's going to get it. He's not going to get it for long, but I feel like he's going to get a thank you run.
Maybe.
And I think that he's going to have some solo time, unfortunately. But I think that their real goal was to bring up Gargano and Ciampa.
Yeah.
And I think Gargano and Ciampa was supposed to have the position that Ricochet and Black had.
So, here was the other kicker. Ciampa's heel, Gargano's heel.
But Gargano thinks he's a face. Let's be clear about this.
Yeah, but that really has no bearing on what he is.
It's true. But it has a bearing. It has a bearing on how he plays it.
Everybody's a hero in their own story. So even Ciampa's a hero in his own story. So I don't really buy into the, well, he thinks he's a face, so he's really, then we get into the whole, like, oh, then he's a tweener. And don't get me started on that path, because we'll be here all day. Both
we can record that once he comes back.
Yeah.
It's a video and a half. Anyway.
So both of them were heel, and it took Gargano was a tweener in the essence that a tweener is somebody transitioning from a face to a heel or heel to a face.
And it took him
quite
quite some time.
This was a long transition for Gargano, because they would lean one way and then they would lean back and then he would lean back again and he would look almost coming back to the light side of the force, and then that darkness would creep up in him again and he would start, so he was a tweener weaving back and forth. So he finally, he listens to Ciampa.
Gave into the dark side.
The little,
devil
on his shoulder. And Ciampa's like, no, you're nothing unless we're together. And Gargano loses and loses and loses on his own. He even wins the North American title.
But then loses it in the first defense.
And so he's kind of like, was he right? And they team, and they win the first round of this big tag tournament. So it was like, okay, maybe Ciampa is right. So it was like, oh, now the heel turn's complete.
Yeah.
And then they get called up, and they're welcomed as baby faces.
Yeah, no, okay, so the promo, the problem I had with that promo, as I was watching it, is, and I popped for it anyway, because I'm a big DIY mark, but, was when Ciampa's talking about, how he came up, and he and Johnny had to come up and scratch their way, and he specifically says that I'm the NXT champion, I did this myself, and I was like, but you didn't. There was a whole storyline about how
he is the hero in his story.
Oh no, but I mean, you see a lot more of that conflict and that delusion in Gargano and how he plays it, which is why I'm a bigger fan of that character in Gargano, because you see him and you see how he tries so hard to rationalize that he is still the hero, and it's really like hinging on delusion. Whereas you see Ciampa making a little bit. He's a little bit more no bones about it.
He calls the title Goldie.
Goldie.
And he just looks at the belt.
He kisses it.
He talks to it. And the great thing is, he doesn't break character this whole time.
Oh, no,
like,
it's beautiful.
Okay, you're coming up and you're going to be baby faces and you're going to fight the bar.
Nope.
He sticks to character. He still has his...
So I saw it. And it was great. So I was in the front, right? At in Raw and in SmackDown. And so as he walks up and he's standing on the ring apron, right? And he looks down at the belt in his arms, and he just takes a deep breath, and he's just like, and then he just goes, "I love you," and kisses the belt. I'm like, this is incredible. I've always been. He holds on to it for dear life.
Yeah, it's great.
I've always been more of a fan of Ciampa than Gargano, and it's things like that. His just absolute dedication.
So
to seeing that sort of character work through. It's so beautiful.
So they bring these guys up on the way to WrestleMania. So you're devoting time to getting guys over that the fans who don't subscribe to the network have no idea who they are.
By the way, without any prior introduction, they didn't have any video packages prepared prior to this, saying, this Monday in Lafayette, we will see the Raw debuts of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Aleister Black and Ricochet. It was that night.
Yeah.
Triple H came out first thing, and he was like, as you know, I wear many different hats in the WWE, and one of my main responsibilities is NXT. And tonight we're going to see some of the best NXT has to offer, and then he introduced these guys. And then almost immediately, the first person that we see is Ricochet coming out to help Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Because Finn Balor gets attacked by Bobby Lashley and Leo Rush. And then you see DIY, and then you see Aleister Black versus Elias. And I mean, definitely super cool. I was really excited to get to see all of them live. I never thought I'd get the chance. But it just seems like a really cold open for a lot of them, and especially in Lafayette, where a lot of them
short of time.
Especially in Lafayette, where a lot of them are not familiar, or a lot of the audience aren't as familiar with them. It's not like in New Orleans where in the Smoothie King Center was an NXT takeover a couple years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just unfortunate because they didn't quite have the audience I think they wanted.
Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? To introduce one guy and get them over is a
task.
endeavor.
Yeah.
To introduce 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys within a 2 or 3 month span is ridiculous. So
And
the other problem is they're pushing Ricochet and Aleister Black to the moon, and it's way too fast, too much. They're beating everybody they put them out there with.
And I think the main issue I have with it is they've seen so much in the past that what works in NXT doesn't always translate, and vice versa. What bombs in NXT sometimes flourishes on the main roster. And to have that expectation of these are our top 4 guys at NXT, so we're gonna push them to the moon, and people are gonna understand their big deal.
It took a long time to build them up.
It doesn't always translate, and I think they take the time that they had in NXT for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Because then look at my two biggest examples of NXT success and failure is Elias, whose gimmick floundered in NXT. Like, I think it was just they had too much time with him, and they just couldn't get into it, and they never got into it, and they were never gonna get into it, because it was always the same thing.
They didn't know how to get the gimmick over down there.
Yeah. And then on the opposite side, Bayley, who was huge in NXT. She was probably one of the most hyped stars coming up to the main roster, and then she just totally, unfortunately, and I love Bayley, she just tanked on the main roster. And only recently has she started coming back up on the upswing. But when she got buried by Alexa Bliss at Extreme Rules in that kendo stick on a pole match that was a squash, like, they took her so long to recover from.
They did a lot of bad things with Bayley.
Yeah.
A lot of the storylines they never saw through, so...
Yeah, really it was a failure of narrative.
It was a failure of narrative.
It's 3, dude.
I know.
I just want to make sure that you're not late. He might be coming back. He might be rejoining us. I hope so.
Hope so as well. Good luck getting your hurt.
Alright, dude, I'm gonna hug him too.
Alright.
We're friends also.
Okay, then.
Come back if you can.
Thanks.
Yes.
This will be the editing out part.
Nah. We won't edit this.
No?
We don't edit.
This is just how it is.
Yeah.
Alright.
So continuing.
So yeah, I think not to get off the tirade of WrestleMania build, the problem with Aleister Black and Ricochet is that it's gonna run out. They're gonna run out of fuel to take.
Yeah.
And my question is, when are the fans going to turn? Because if you push, you take out all the question of, when is he going to lose?
Yeah.
Are they going to do a Roman Reigns, John Cena effect on these guys to where the fans are no longer interested because he's going to beat him?
Yeah, it takes out all the wind in the sails. It's the same thing that they did that they're doing with Rousey. Is she's beat everyone. So that it's not even a question now. You just see who she's up against. You're like, oh, so Rousey's gonna beat them.
And I think,
and it's a killjoy. It
is.
Takes out a lot of the fun of wrestling, and it's not like we don't know that things are booked. You know what I mean? But when you take away that suspense, it's just sort of like, what's the point then? We're watching for cool moves, like.
That's another thing I want to talk about. Remind me.
But
it's also a thing of not even the call up anymore. Is it fit with what's earned? You know what I'm saying? Because Vince says, okay, bring up characters. Does anybody feel Heavy Machinery has earned a spot on the main roster? You're a fan. Do you feel they've earned it?
I feel like it wasn't so much that they've earned a spot as much as there was nothing left for them to do in NXT. Because they weren't going to strap them with the amount of tag teams they had in NXT. Because the NXT tag team division, during time was pretty stacked.
Mm-hmm.
You had Undisputed Era, you had Heavy Machinery, you had you have War Raiders, you had you had TM61 for a while, like so there wasn't really much space left for them at that juncture.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course TM61 broke up, and now Nick Miller is back to being Mad Mikey Nichols.
Mad Mikey, excited. I like what I see in New Japan.
But yeah. Oh man, look who's
one
back.
One fades, one comes back.
Back again.
So
can replace Uncle Daniel's back.
So yeah,
I think
that's
so, too.
one part is that I feel these wrestlers that are getting called up aren't, for one, they're not going to be viewed as earning it, and two, they're going to burn them out way too fast before fans can really be grown on them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the storyline build just sucked. I mean, we're to a point of everything has to be done fast paced now because there's no time left.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of, instead of Kurt Angle getting a build for his retirement,
He just has to announce it.
Hey, I'm having a retirement match, and hey, I'm picking Baron Corbin.
Because, hey, remember we had a thing. You don't remember? Well, here, we'll video package it to remind you. Instead of rebuilding.
Is this yours?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah.
But yeah. Because, I mean, it is crunch time. There's less than a month left.
Mm-hmm.
And
all right.
There hasn't been a whole lot of build.
Let's switch gears here.
All right. Well, if you're going to switch gears, why don't we wrap up this video and then move on to the next one?
Okay, well, let me do this
We got
then.
another guest.
Let me do this.
Okay.
Since,
How about we have 2 guests?
The last show was go play with this.
The last show is in what?
The last pay-per-view.
Fastlane.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was. This is. I thought the pay-per-view was decent from pre-show to the U.S. title match, the unannounced U.S. title match.
Yes.
But here was the problem. By the time we got to the triple threat main events, of Becky and Charlotte, and then Daniel Bryan versus Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali. By the time we got to that, every match was high-flying spot outside of the ring, spot. Decent wrestling, but there was always a spot outside the ring, high-flying spot, every match. You have Joe flying out of the ring. You have whoever flying out of the ring. Everybody's flying out of the ring. You get to the one match where the wrestlers, that's their thing. They're smaller guys who fly. Mustafa Ali, Daniel Bryan, they fly. They do a lot of outside spots. And Kevin Owens, who does an outside spot. You get to the match that should have all been saved for, and everybody was burned out on it.
Yeah.
So, even to the match booking pay-per-view wise, ranking it up so you have a good flowing show, it sucked. They just burned the crowd out.
Yeah.
That was all I want to say.
Anyway,
Final thoughts.
That is it for this episode of Midcard Mana. I have a lot of thoughts about Fastlane. Maybe we'll do a Fastlane specific review.
No.
Okay. Yes, we will. Anyway. This is Midcard Mana signing off. Bing, bang.
Bing.